Hey there, this is Jonah Pelche for Philosophy and Worldview, discussion board number 2. Here I'm going to talk about why Christians should study philosophy. And I believe that philosophy is very foundational to a Christian's worldview and cultivating a Christian worldview in general. And the role that philosophy should play in the life of a believer should be very, very central to the life of a believer. I believe that Christianity is a rational religion. It's like even the whole concept of faith. Our author, Dr. Foreman, talks about how the different tenets or the different contents, the things that make saving faith, that make up saving faith, at least according to the reformers, is notitia, assensus, and fiducia. And these Latin terms that talk about the different components to saving faith. And one of them is notitia, general knowledge of the content. Assensus is a mental assent to it as true. And then fiducia is that trust, that active trust in what you believe. And I mean, philosophy is so wrapped up in that, because you can't place faith in something that you're not compelled to believe in. And he makes that case as well. Like, we're not called to have a blind faith. We're called to have a faith that understands what it's believing in. I believe it's 2 Peter 3:15, where Peter exhorts his audience to know that we need to have a reason, be prepared to give a reason or a defense for the hope that is within us, and do it with gentleness and respect. And that kind of goes into it places the importance, or it shows the importance of needing to understand not only what I believe, but even why I believe it, the presuppositions that influence the methods that I use to get towards my conclusions, that build my worldview. And I also find it interesting that Scripture places such a high value on reason and the intellect. We're to love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. I think about Isaiah. I think it's Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18 or something like that, where God speaks to his people, says, "Come, let us reason together." You know what I mean? That God is a rational God. Jesus came as the Logos, the Word, or the divine reason in Greek philosophy, and he is that objective reason. And I believe philosophy should be practically lived out in our daily life as believers. Foreman, he kind of fleshes out 5 different roles, 5 different ways that philosophy plays a vital role in the Christian life and activity, and he names them as hermeneutics, theology, apologetics, polemics, and evangelism. Now, I think that all of these are so essential, foundational to the Christian worldview. Let's talk about hermeneutics, for example. I mean, the concept or the practice of interpreting Scripture. Like, you have to do philosophy in order to interpret Scripture, whether you want to or not. It's not whether you're going to do philosophy, it's if you're going to do good philosophy. You know what I mean? That's the whole goal of hermeneutics, interpreting the Bible, is understanding, okay, I want to get something out of the text, and I have to be aware of my own presuppositions that I'm bringing to the text, and I have to understand, okay, why am I interpreting it this way? What's the method that I'm using to interpret? Or even bringing clarity to something. Okay, Paul says this and this. What does he mean when he says this? And let's evaluate that. Let's justify that claim. You know what I mean? And same thing in theology. You have, especially, when you're doing theology, you have to do philosophy in clarifying terms and really justifying certain beliefs, especially like systematic theology, where you have core just doctrines, and you have to justify those doctrines with a bunch of different concepts as seen throughout Scripture. And that's very important. And obviously, I'll end with apologetics. I mean, apologetics, philosophy is so vital to Christian apologetics, especially in understanding like logical fallacies or the intricacies of argumentation and how to argue, in an effective way, and how to understand how someone that you're speaking to, let's say they have a different worldview than you, well, you have to understand not only the facts of their different worldview, but you have to understand how that affects the way that they think, the way that they see knowledge, the way that affects the methods that they're using to, to get to knowledge, to get to conclusions, and it'll also just help you love those people in a more genuine way, in a more empathetic way, a sympathetic way. But yeah, I believe that philosophy is so central to Christianity, to a true believer's life, and it can both support and challenge one's faith. But I think it supports it in the sense that it refines you, and it strengthens you to be able to go into the world and know the intricacies of your faith, know why you believe what you believe, and have a confidence that you have good reason to believe what you believe. And then also, I believe that the challenging that it can offer us in our faith is a good challenge. It's a refining fire type thing where you're coming in and you're being challenged. All these presuppositions, all these tenets to your worldview are being challenged, and you have to actually evaluate them and say, okay, is this true? Am I believing this? And I have no actual substance for believing this. No substance for believing it. And it makes us kind of reflect on our worldview, and it's going to refine us. It's going to lead us into greater truth if we let it. And I believe that we must be, as Christians, students of philosophy in order to be the best ambassadors for Christ, in order to be the best seekers of truth, and just humble, super humble, understanding why people think how they think, and the conclusions that people come to can be genuine, you know what I mean, and not just being arrogant and puffed up with knowledge. But I hope this sufficiently answers the discussion board. I know I went a little over, and I'm really sorry for that, but have a great day.